Hey guys, welcome. I hope you're having great holidays. In this video, we're going to see how to build a multiplayer game using Photon. We have already seen how to build a multiplayer game using Scara's multiplayer plugin, right? So this is uh, going to look like the famous hill climb game, but it's a multiplayer game. So it's a real-time multiplayer game. Yeah, it just the difference is with the previous video is that we are going to use the Photon plugin. So it has two modes. One is offline, the other one is online. So first I'll need to add a nickname. So it requires at least 3 characters to 20 characters. So for example, I will add my name. Let's play the game. So you can see it has physics enabled, and each object is independent and it's moving independently, right? So also you can see two uh, color rectangle buttons. So instead of pedals, I draw my own rectangle boxes to replicate the pedals. So when you use the source code, you can replace all the assets as per your own assets, right? So this is just a template. So if I click on this one, he moves forward. If I click on this one, he stops and moves backward. Okay, all right. So I can also use the forward and backward arrows, and you can see his head is moving independently, and the tires and the car body is moving independently. You see that, right? So if the head hits the body, the floor, uh, the whole vehicle is going to be dismantled and it goes back to the home screen. So we are using a feature called physics joints, and we are going to see how to do that shortly. So if I go to the online mode, not this way, one second. So we need to do a remote preview. Okay, so the first one, Sudeep. The second nickname, let's have it as Unuti. Okay, so we have two objects here. One is blue car, and the other one is the red car. You can see blue car. If I move the blue car, you can see that the transparent blue car is moving forward on the second screen. Similarly, if I move the red car, so you can see on the left hand screen, the red car is sinking on the screen. See that? So it's a real-time game. So you can add more features such as having coins, fuel, etc., and you can make the game more interesting. Okay, fine. So once one of the player has hit the ground, it dismantles the vehicle and triggers the notification that the opponent left and moves to the home screen. So let's see what happens if we go to the final screen. Okay, so let's move the blue car to the final screen and see what happens. And we can move the red car after blue car reaches the destination. Okay, I think we have almost reached. Yes, so you can change all those assets as per your requirement. So this game works on direct nickname, so you can directly add the nickname and you can play the game. So you can also integrate backend database with MySQL or Firebase or PlayFab, and you can have the user authentication to set up maybe user leaderboards, etc. So in this video we are not going to focus any of that. Okay, so the first person, Blue, has reached the final screen and it said you win, and the second screen, the second user who reached the final screen, it shows as you lose, right? So I hope you understood all the concept. So it's as simple as that. So I'm not going to we are not going to build any or integrate any coin based or fuel based system. We have already seen that in our previous video how to do it. Background music, nothing I'm going to implement in this video. So the whole focus is to create the game using Photon, both offline and multiplayer games. Okay, so implementing music and everything, you can see that in our previous video, and you can follow those tutorials and implement the same in this game. All right, so let's close this one. So the source code is available in itch.io page and other marketplaces, so which I provided the link in the description. You can get it from there. Okay, so before we continue further, I have an announcement to make.
We have published a game called Life in the Machine. If you are one of our followers, you might already know about the game. And if not, Life in the Machine is a detective game that requires someone with tremendous skills to investigate a murder mystery, find clues, interrogate suspects, and find the criminal. The game is available in two versions. The Android version is on Google Play Store and Amazon App Store, and the Windows version is on itch.io and Steam. It is known that only a person with critical thinking can solve the case. Can you solve the case? Links in the description.
All right, so let's open a new game. So new project. So let's have it as a landscape, 1080p, or maybe we can make it. Okay, so I'll call it as hill climb, or hill climb online. Okay, whatever it is. So create a new layout. So this layout I'll call it as game, and its event sheet I'll call it as yes_k. Okay, viewport size, let's change the viewport size, the game, and we need the layout size to be as long as possible to have the racetrack implemented. So let's increase the size of it to 10 times. Okay, so this would be sufficient. So let's add a background. For that, let's use style background. Okay, so okay, these are mountains. Instead of BG, I'll call it as maybe hills, something like that. So let's add one more layer to have the sky. I'll call it as sky. Same, let's have a tile background again. Okay, so we'll just decrease the opacity of this background. Let's make it maybe 75, maybe 50. Okay, so now we can see the sky as well as mountains. So let me start the layout. Oops, 1 second. The mountains are big. 1 second. Okay. Let's reduce the size of it to 1280. Okay, let's reduce the size of the mountains as well. Okay, fine. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, now it's look better, right? So we have a gap at the top. Okay, let's change that. Okay, fine. All right, done. Now let's have the background, the ground. Right, so we need a ground. So let's have a sprite. Not sprite, I'm sorry. Let's have a tile background again. Okay, so I'm using all free assets found on the internet. So when you get this source code, you can use the same, or you can have your own images. Okay, right. Okay, let's see how it looks. Okay, fine. Maybe we need to decrease the size of this background. It's 256. Let's make it 125. Okay, this is looking better, right? Okay, so right. Okay, so we need the mountains kind of structure. So we can achieve that simply by selecting this tile background, which is the ground. Right click on it, go to mesh, create mesh. So columns we would read at least 2, that is the minimum requirement. Row we would require minimum 2. So if I do that, so this is how it looks like, but you will not see any use from that. Let's resize it. So if I change the columns to 10, okay, you can see the green zigzag kind of look, right? So here you can simply select this one and increase the size of this terrain. So it looks like now we are making the mountain as looking like zigzag kind of thing, so that it will be challenging for the user to play, right? So I'm just changing it to more random kind of thing, so to make it the tutorial as simple as possible. Okay, fine. So let's keep it this way. Instead of BG, I'll say ground. So naming, it's up to you how do you want to name it. So it's just a formality. So I'll create a new layer called player. So here I would like to wait, we already have a sprite. So I would like to import the car and other images. So if I go to images, I will see car. Let's duplicate it and add the red car as well. So we have total 2 cars here. One is the blue, which will be player 1, red will be player 2. Okay, I'm going little faster because we already saw how to import all the sprites and everything in our previous videos. Okay, let's reduce it to 256. Even this one, let's reduce it to 256. Okay, all right. So the size of the car is fine now. Now we'll need to import tires. So for that I will use sprite. Okay, so big wheel 1. So let's have this one. So 256. Let's make it as 125. So we need 2 tires. So 2 tires I want to have them as separate because we want to link them as joints. We can have the same sprite linking the joints, but it's more convenient to have them as 2 different tires with 2 different names. Let's call it as tire 1. This is tire 2. Let's have a new layer for that. Okay, so let's place all the tires in this layer. It is looking much bigger, so let's reduce the size of the tire. Let's have it as 80. Okay, this is fine, right? Even this one, let's have it as 80. So place both the tires here. Try to put it at proper corner. Okay, so now we have the car with tires. Okay, so I'll say hill climb multiplayer, right? So now we need a physics effect for this one. So if I preview this project, it is actually floating in the air, so we don't want that, right? It needs to hit the ground. So for that I will create a family. I'll put car tires into it, and I will call the family as player, and I will give a behavior called physics. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, now it is falling down, but it is passing through the ground. So we want to stop at the ground. We don't want it to pass through it. So even for ground, let's go to behaviors, add physics. Let's see what happens. Okay, you see that it is falling on the ground, but ground is also going back, going away. So let's do one thing. In ground, make it as ground as immovable. So if I play it again, you can see ground is not moving, but car is falling on the ground, which is stable now. It's not passing through. And we have another car. I'm wondering why we have it. We have it only one. We haven't created even events. Why are we getting a new car? Okay. Oh, I have added a car here. My mistake. Alright. Okay, so let's see how it looks like now. Okay, till here it's fine, right? Now we need to create the joints so that these two tires fix at those positions of the car, and we'll have some elasticity kind of look which we saw in the previous video. Alright, so for that what we can do, create an event. So at the start of the event, so we want the car tires to be fixed at those locations, creating a physics joint. Okay, so first let's connect to these two tires. One second, I don't see the tires having physics behavior. Okay, tire 1, right here it is. So if I search for joint, you'll have an option called distant joint. So I would like to link it to the other tire which is tied to. Done. Okay, now I would like to fix so these two tires doesn't move from these two locations, so they are fixed now. So I would like to set the joint between car as well as these two tires at this position. See that at this position. So what I want to do, so here it should have a location. So for that I will create one more image point. I'll fix this image point here. Okay, so I'll have one more image point. I'll fix this image point here. So the first one is at, okay, I'll make it as, okay, no, not good. Okay, so 52 105, and this is 105 182. Okay, so what I want to do, so I'll go back here. So again I will create a distant joint to the image point of tire 1 0, and select the car to the image point of 1. So spring frequency I'll set it to 3 so that you'll see that spring effect, and similarly I will do the same for the second tire. Okay, so let's see what happens now. Okay, one second. So this should be image point 2, sorry, this is image point 1, this is image point 2, my mistake. Okay, now you can see there is a distant joint between the car and tire, but it is too near to the tire, so it should be much far, but it's too close, right? So let's change that. So the image point here, let's have it as, instead of 105, let's have it as 115. Okay, let's see 115. Even here let's see and set to 115. Let's see what happens. Okay, this is much better, right? Alright, So let's add the player head. So I'll call him as guy. Once again. Okay, let me. Okay, so let's create a new sprite. I'll call him as guy. So if I go to characters, I will see this one. Maybe I'll need to reduce the size of it. It's big, so let's make it as 80 maybe. Okay, I think this is fine, or maybe let's make it 75 and import the second one as well. Okay, let's make it is 75 and animation, let's set it to 0. Okay, now you can see the spring effect, right? And now we need to do the same for this head, this guy. So what we have to do, similarly you'll have to first let me rename his name to guy and add this guy to the player list. So now he will have the physics effect like other objects. So now we will be able to create a distance joint. So I would like to create a distance joint now. So this guy, if I search for joint, distance joint with the image point of guy to tire 1. Similarly from this guy to tire 2. Okay, so what it makes is that he will be fixed in this position between these two tires. At the same time, we want his has to be moving forward and backward, right? So for that, what we can do, we can create a prismatic joint to the car. Okay, lower transaction, let's have it as -0 and upper transaction to be 0, so that he will move backward and forward. His head will move backward and forward, like like you see in the climb hill game. Okay, so let's see how it looks like. Okay, you see that car is moving, his head is also moving a little bit. Okay, looks good. So this is fine. So now what we need to do, we'll need to add the motion. So for that we need the controls as forward and backward arrows, or you can also have the rectangle, the pedals, right? So to accelerate or brake, you'll need to add those as well. So first I will add a keyboard, and in keyboard, if I right arrow, where is right arrow? Okay, let's do one thing. Okay, and key is down, which is right arrow. We want tire 1, so which is the front tire of the car. To apply force towards a position, force, let's have it as 200. So y will be self of y and x will be self of x plus 200. Okay, which means that you'll stay at the same position but targeting to the forward of x position. So let's see how it looks like. You see that? So if I click on the right arrow, is moving forward. So this is tire 1, I guess. 1 second. Okay, this is tire 2 and this is tire 1. Okay, fine. Similarly, if I have this keyboard left, I want the physics force towards back, which will be self minus 200. So let's see how it looks like. See, it is going forward now. I want it go to backward. Okay. Okay, fine. So it is not looking smooth. Although one thing, probably the collision points is not good. Let's make it 0 circle and let's make this as circle as well. Okay, now let's see how it looks like. Okay, now this is smooth. Okay, cool, right? Okay, looking good. So we want the camera to move along with the car. So as of now, it's not happening. The car is moving forward, but the camera is not moving forward. So for that, we'll need to add one behavior called scroll to. If I go to player, click on behavior, we have an option called scroll to. So now if I run the game, you can see he's moving, the camera is moving along with him. Okay, so looks good, right? So let's make the ground more challenging. It looks much easier now. So let's increase the mesh size to 15 columns. Okay, so this is the last position, so let's make it this way. Oops. Okay, now let's see how challenging it is. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so you have to keep working on it to make it look more perfect. Okay, fine. Okay, so looking good, right? So this is the offline mode. So you can, like I said, you can add coins, the fuel, to make it more challenging, and also you can use particle behavior when you accelerate, to the splash, give the splashing effect from the ground under the tire. Okay, let's pull this tires little lower to see how the elasticity looks now. Not good. Why it is leaning forward? 1 second. So we have image point here and here, and we link tire 1 to image point 2, and tire 2 to image point 1. Correct. Okay, let's put it back. Okay, fine. So now we need to set up a game over kind of thing. So if the head touches the ground, I want to declare it as a game over and go back to the home screen. So I'll create a new variable called game over. By default it's false, and also I'll set it to false by default, because when you create a new game or play the same game, when you go back to the home screen, you want this to continue. Okay, so this is fine, and this should work only if the game over is false. Okay, so if it is not game over, then you should be able to control it. Okay, and it will be game over when head collides with ground. So I want to wait a second. Okay, we don't have home screen yet. Okay, my mistake. So for time being, I will say to restart. Okay, all right. Okay, so which means it's game over. So just to have a little effect, what I will do is, to have the car wreckage kind of effect, I will disable all the joints. Okay, if I remove all the joints, it gives a little feeling of car wreckage. So let's try this again. You see that? Something like that. So instead of 1 second, maybe it is better to have 3 seconds. So let's try it again. Okay, you see that? So it gives a little feeling of wreckage. Okay, done. So we are done with this offline mode. Oh wait, I need to set up a finish line. So for that I have a flag which doesn't look appropriate, but at least that gives a feeling of flag. Okay, I want this to be at bounding box and set it to half, because when I have the collision point as full, if the car collides with this flag, I want to declare it as game over and they won. Okay, so instead of hitting at the beginning, if you have the collision at the half, when the car hits the flag, it will only consider only if it is at the half of the flag's position. And I don't want the car to go away from the screen, so I'll create a new object. So let's have it red in color. This doesn't look red. Okay, so car will hit this one and it stops, it doesn't move any further. Okay, so even for this one I'll need to add it to the player to have the physics behavior, and if it doesn't have the physics behavior then it will not stop. So I will call it as stop. This sprite I'll call it as flag. Okay, and I don't want this object to be moving. Why can't I see it? Okay, I didn't add it to the player. Okay, fine, my mistake. Okay, so let's make it immovable, and also at the end let's have the same, and let's make it invisible so that the player doesn't see the object. Okay, my mistake. So it should be movable only for stop. Alright, so if I go back, it doesn't go any further back. Okay, fine, done. Okay, and flag, I want flag to be somewhere maybe on ground level. Also, when player reaches this position, I want a notification or some kind of message that the player has won. So let's put it as center. Okay, let's call it as you win, and to see how the size of the text, and this size looks much better. Okay, so I'll make it empty for now. So when guy collides with flag, so we don't want this. I want the text to display you win and restart the layout. Okay, let's see. So the physics joint behavior, you need to do little what you say, experiment to set the right position and right elasticity. So the game which I showed you before, so it took me some time to get the right amount of positions and right amount of elasticity to decide to get that kind of look. Okay, so we are done with the offline mode. Now we need to develop the online mode. Okay, so we'll create a new layout. Let's duplicate game layout, call it as home, and create a new event, call it as es_home, and let's link home with es_home. Okay, so home, we don't need all these things. Okay, let's keep it that way, and okay, let's put this guy here. hill climb online. Okay, fine. Actually, I downloaded a font. Let's try that once. So, okay, so let's apply that font. Yes, this one. Okay, fine. So even in game, let's implement this font. You can, this is just to demonstrate how you can have your custom font. Okay, so in order to log into the Photon Engine, you'll need to have some nickname, some kind of authentication. So for now, let's use only nickname. Like I said before, you can implement MySQL or PlayFab or Firebase, any other authentication which interests you or suits you better. But in this video, we are not going to see that. Maybe in the next video, if you're interested, I can show you how to link PlayFab authentication, create leaderboards, etc. All right, fine. Okay, so let's have one text input. Okay, so text input, let's have a placeholder saying nickname. And have a button that says play. Okay, so I'm not focusing on much of the design to save some time. Alright, also I want to have a new sprite to give the option for the users to link between or to choose between online or offline mode. Okay, fine. Where did we put the text object? Is it entire layer? Yes, it's entire layer. Now let's put it in HUD. Okay, so let's call it as offline, and let's lower the text size. Oh god, so this should be in HUD. Okay, so this is online, right? So my objective is, if I click on online, so the background, this box should move to online and users will be able to play in online mode. So if I click on offline again, it should scroll back to offline text and users should be able to play the offline mode. So in home screen, I will create a new variable called offline. So by default it will be true. Okay, for in order to scroll, I'll give this sprite move to behavior. So it's up to you totally how do you want to set this up. This is how I wanted to do it, so I did that way. So this sprite, I'm sorry, so if boolean, so offline, so it is, if it is offline, I want sprite to move to object text. Okay, and not just any text, I want to move it to this text. So I can do it in two ways. I can create a new variable saying type as way online or offline, and I can select that. Or the other way to do is to select based on UID, which is a unique ID. So if I add one more condition, go to text, if you type for UID, you will find this one, add 29. Oh, I'm sorry, it is 28. And if it is not offline, which means it's online, so it should scroll to the text which is online. And how do I switch it? So I'll need one more plugin called touch. So if I touch an object which is sprite 2, simply I need to toggle offline. So oh, I'm sorry, not touch, it should be text. So what happens is, so if I click on online or offline text, so the boolean variable which is offline will switch from offline to online or online to offline, and when it is switched, the sprite will move backward and forward. So let's see how it looks like. Okay, do one thing. Let's create a function called set joints. Okay, so I'll simply call set joints at the start of the layout, so that this function will be triggered. Even on home screen, I'll create a new event called start layout and call set joint, so that you will not have any issue with this car. And let's disable the scroll to effect. And sprite 2, let's remove the set angle. Okay, we'll fix that. But if I click on online, it is moving to right. If I click on offline, it is moving to offline, right. Now also the car is looking better now. Okay, instead of image point, let's say position, text dot text, text dot y. Okay, let's try it in debug mode. so that you can see um, the variable, the offline variable. So where are global variables? Right here it is. So now it is offline is true, which means the game mode is offline. So if I click on online, you can see offline it is setting to false, and if I click on offline again, it is setting to true. This is moving, but it's not moving perfectly. So 1 second. So position is 170. Okay. Okay, so even for this one origin, let's change it to center so that will not have any issues. Okay, and we don't need to move the Y position, so Y could be self of Y. We just need to move the X position, that's all. Okay, so let's see how it looks like now. Okay, fine, this is fine, right? So this is just going off the main background, so let's increase it little further so it looks much better. Because it's a tutorial, I'm not taking much time to work on the UI fixes to look more good and accurate, so you can try that when you're working on it. Okay, maybe you can do it like a working session in parallel to what I'm doing right now. Alright, so it's done. Offline mode is done. Online mode is also online and offline mode switching between is done. Now we'll have to implement the online mode. Okay, so let's do one thing. I'll create a group called offline. Okay, so by default will be off, and let's move these two into offline. So online also will have the similar kind of things, but we would require few more conditions to see that which player the car it is. Okay, so on startup layout, I'll set a sub event if the boolean, so I'll have to see if it is an offline mode, enable the group off. Okay, enable the group offline, and if it is not offline, so we'll need to enable a group called online, for which I'm creating it now. Okay, so offline it's done. Now we need to work on online mode. So in online, so we'll need to import one plugin called Photon. Okay, so Photon plugin is built by construct master collection. So if you go to Chrome, search for construct master collection. Okay, this is his website, and you can find all the plugins here. So I'm using the PlayFab master collection. You can simply go to Photon real time, and you can find the documentation here. Okay, so if you want to purchase it, of course you'll need to purchase it. So you have the options here. So for the amount of the plugins he provide, the cost he is providing is very reasonable, and I'm very happy with his plugins. So you can also purchase them, and it adds a lot of value to your games, and these are must required plugins to, if you are a freelancer, then you'll need to you'll need to have such kind of plugins to complete the task or more complex tasks. Okay, so I'll go back to the game now. So now we have Photon. So in Photon, all you have to do is add an ID. So if I go to Chrome again, I'll go to Photon Engine. Okay, okay, so I already have an account in Photon. So just go to dashboard if you already have an account. If you don't have, you'll have to create a new account. Okay, so Mount Ascent Online is the previous game I have showed you already. So what we can do is create a new app. So yes, select Photon Real Time. So the name of the application is Hill Climb Online or multiplayer, whatever it is. Create it. Okay, so this is the app ID. Just copy that app ID, go to Photon, paste it here. Done. So now the Photon is integrated into your game. Now all you have to do is create second player and start creating events so that you can control both of the players on one screen, and you can ultimately have the multiplayer, real-time multiplayer game. Okay, so nickname, we would need to capture the nickname. So I'll go create a global name, global variable called nickname. It will be string. Okay, so in the text input, I'm sorry, if it is a button, so when the button is clicked, so when this button is clicked, it has to capture the nickname from this box and go to the game. So when it is clicked, check if you need to check if the text box is not empty. For example, text input, text is not empty. Okay, so you need to set the nickname to text input dot text and go to game. Okay, let's see how it works now. Okay, so if I click on play, it is taking me to the game. So what happens if I do not enter anything? One second. There is one issue. One second. Without entering anything, it is taking me to the game. Alright, so if I click on play, it doesn't happen anything. If I click on online and add a name, it takes me to the game. Okay, but this is not online game, this is offline game. Okay, fine. So I need to implement the online game now. So for that, we'll have to create one more player, which is a red player. Okay, I placed him on the same place, so let's reposition them and change the frames. And this should be in player and tire, so we don't have any different animation mode for tires, right? Okay, done. So what happens, so if I play this one, you see that so the physics joint is not happening properly and there is an issue, so we'll have to fix that. But this is required only in online mode, we don't need it in offline mode, right? So in offline, let's delete the other player. Okay, let's do one thing. For player, let's create a family instant variable called player. Okay, this guy will be player 2 and this guy will be player 2. This tire will be player 2, this tire will be player 2 as well. So we'll have to name the player which is behind as player 1. So this guy will be player 1, this guy will be player 1 again. So these two tires will again be player 1, this one, I'm sorry. Okay, alright, I hope you understood. So the complete set of this car will be player 1 and complete set of this car will be player 2. So let's move him to the same position. Done. So when I open the game, the start of the layout, I'll have a condition where player 1 instance variable is 2, destroy the player. Okay, so let's see how it's going to work. Okay, now I have understood the issue. So in hill climb online settings, I need to set the first layout as home. Okay, so let's put it as offline. So let's play. Now you can see only there is the blue player, not the red one. Cool. So what if it is an online? So let's see what happens. So we have already seen that, but once again, let's see what happens. Okay, so there is a collision and we don't want that to happen. So what I want to do in online, so even in online, the start of layout, I don't want the collisions to be enabled for both of them. Okay, so I want the collisions to not to happen on the same player. And now let's see what happens. Okay, so now there is no collision, but there is a issue with the joints, collision joints. Also I see it is not happening, the collision is not happening with the walls. So let's remove this one from the player family. And have the physics for stop itself. So one thing, let's move the set joins to here. And even for online, we need to set joins to respect to players, not for everything, right? Okay, let's do one thing, we need to change it here. So in set joins, okay, so we need to check each and every item. For tire 1, I go to sub event and tire 1, the instance variable player is equal to 1. Okay, so it should happen only with tire 2 of same instant variable, which is player 1. Okay, so tire 1 and tire 2 are player 1, and it happens only with the same tire with tire 2 which of the same player. Okay, so let's do the same with car. So replace condition and it should be car of player 1. Okay, similarly we need to replace object which is tied to. So I'm going a little fast, so I hope you are able to understand. If you follow my previous videos, it's very much easy to understand. Okay, so let's do with the guy. So let's change the object car and it should be tire 1. Okay, so even here, so let's replace the object tire 1 with tire 2. Replace the tire now with car. Okay, okay, so we can also use for loops with for each functionality. So if I go to events start, so I can use for each tire 1, not to loop the tire number of tire 1s on the screen. So for player 1 player 2 it makes 2 tires, tire 1s of 2 objects. So you can do that way as well, but I wanted to make it much easier instead of, so if I use all those things maybe you will get confused. So I'm just making as simple as possible, but once you become an expert you will know how to reduce the line of codes. So as of now this is just a duplication of work. So as we have only 2 players, it's easy to replicate, just copy paste and add the players. But if in future if you wanted to build a game of 20 players, you cannot do that. So for that you will have to use for each. Okay, so let's see how it looks like now. So you can see there is the joints created for respect to cars. Okay, so but we need to avoid that. It should happen only for the player. So if I click on forward arrow, it should happen only for their players, not for both of them. And this car is not looking good, so I remember I did not set the collision points for the second car. Okay, so image points I need to set it for the second car. So this should be okay. Now we should have them here as well. Okay, now let's see how it looks like. Okay, now it's good, right? So both are moving at the same time, so it is working fine. So what we have to do, we have to move only our player, not the other player. Okay, so in online, no, not in online. So here what we can do, add one more condition. Okay, so instant player, if the player, one second, so let's create one more variable called my player. Okay, so if it is an offline mode, we'll call my player as 1, so which means the blue car. Okay, so here we can add one more condition, and if player instant variable is equal to my player, the car will move, otherwise it doesn't move. Okay, let's do one thing. Even for non-offline mode, let's call my player as 1. Okay, looks like both the cars are having the same numbers. It is not having the same number. Okay, let's debug the layout and see. Okay, so my player is 1, and the car, we have 2 instances, which first one is my player as 1, the second one is my player as 2. Okay, let's do one thing. Instead of my player, let's have tire 1. Okay, this is fine, right? Now only the blue car is playing, not the red car. So now the red car is reserved to the second player who's going to join later. Okay, I hope it's clear so far, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I will provide my contact in the description. Also, you can join my Discord server. You can ask clarification. Also, I work as a freelancer, so the reason for the gap between my videos is that recently I have a lot of requests on freelancing jobs, so that is why I'm not able to make videos much frequently, but I'll see if I can develop more tutorials. But if you want to have any tutorial on something, you can also give me suggestions, I can work on them. Okay, so far so clear, right? So we are able to split player 1 and player 2 and reserve player 1 to the first player to join the room, and the second one to the second player, whom we will going to create an instance for that. So for that, now we need to use the Photon plugin. So in online, so let's do one thing and start a layout. So let's go to Photon. So first we have to set the actor name or login. Okay, so let's set the actor name. So this is not mandatory, but I'm doing. Okay, so now the thing which you are going to do is mandatory. So what the game requirement is, so Photon works almost similar to the Scala multiplayer plugin. So in Scala multiplayer, the difference is that the first person to join the room will act as the host, whereas in Photon, all the players will act as peers or guests, and the server is located remotely. But as Scala plugin, one of the players will act as host and the other players will act as peers. So if the host leaves the room, it's game over, everyone loses the connection. Whereas in Photon, if anyone loses or exits the game still continues because it's they are connected to a different server. Okay, so first what we have to do, we'll have to either create or join a room. Okay, so before that, what we have to do is we'll have to set some room properties. So you want to join a room of a property which has only 2 rooms of max players, not more than that. Okay, so the property of your requirement is to have maximum of 2 players. So if I go to now with this condition, you'll need to log into the room. Okay, so for that we can select join random room, match my room. Yes, you need to you need a room property of max 2 players. Matchmaking, yes. Lobby name, I'll call it as hill climb multiplayer. Okay, lobby type default, yes. So if there is no room vacant, so you can create a new room. So one second, where is it? Okay, disconnect on error. Right, so on join random room, no match found. So you're trying to join some random room where the room has only 1 player, and if you don't find any of that, you can create your own room so that the Photon will make the matchmaking and try to connect the other player. Okay, I'll explain it to you once again. So here, create room, and the room name I want to create it as room.photon.user ID, and the login name and the lobby name, let's have it as the same name which we use for matchmaking. Okay, so the advantage of Photon is you can create the room as the room name as your interest, where Photon will try to connect another player and join your room. But in Skira, you'll have to do that manually by yourself. You'll have to add events, but in Photon you don't need to do that. So to explain it to you in clear way, so first you're trying to connect to Photon, and there you will be joining a lobby. So in lobby you will have a lot of rooms, and you will join any of the rooms which has only one player, because the objective of this the condition of the room is to have only max 2 players. So you will try to join a room which has only one player, but if all the rooms are filled, Photon creates a new room for you with your username ID, with your user ID, and it will join a next player who's waiting in the lobby into your room, so that you both can play the game. I hope it makes sense. You can also play with friends, but this game is focusing more on the random play. All right, if you still have any questions, you can reach out to me. Okay, let's see how it works. So let's open the remote preview. Okay, so the nickname I want to choose is Sudeep, play, and the nickname I want to choose here is Unduti, play. All right, so let's open the console. Even here, let's open the console. Okay, my mistake. I did not connect to Photon first of all. Without connecting to Photon, I'm trying to join a room. My mistake. 1 second. So go to Photon, connect. The server with lobby name Hillclimb Multiplayer. Let's refresh. Okay, so now you can see all these console logs. Okay, so now we joined to lobby, but we did not join any room. Okay, authentication is done. We joined the lobby. Okay, one second. Okay, let's see. I don't remember using authentication for this one, but let's see. Okay, now we connected to name server. I think we need to put this here. First we need to connect to the server, then we need to set the max player to 2, and then try to join the room. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's add one more condition. If it is connected to when it is connected to lobby, we'll say that join a random room by fill room. Alright, okay, fine. You can see now it is connected to a room. So actor name is Sudeep, actor number is 1. Okay, same thing with this one. Okay, so this is also connected to the room. Name is Vanduti, actor name is 2. Okay, so if I move the car, blue car is moving, even here the blue car is moving, but there is no connection between both of them. So we are going to work on them now. Okay, so we are able to successfully join the lobby and then join the room. It is so far so good. So now we need to connect both the players and move only respect to players, not both of them. So when we join the room, we need to associate both the players to respect to actor number so that we don't have any confusions in moving the car. So we are going to use the same numbers to move the actors and sync them between both the screens. So now let's go to Photon. Okay, on join room. So the first condition is the first player has joined the room and we need to associate him with the actor number. So if I click on player, let's add one more variable saying actor number. Okay, so at the beginning we will have only one player, right? So that is the condition we are going to use now. The second player, when he joins, he will have 2 actors. So actor count, if the actor count is 1, which means the first player joined the room and the player number 1 okay, set this player value to actor value to photon dot my actor number. Okay, so if the photon count is 2, which means 2 players has joined, now the player 2 will have the actor number of the second player. So photon actor number at 1. Okay, so it works as array index, so 0 being 1 the first number and 1 being the second number. Okay, so what if it is a second player? So it is a first player, so it's done. So we have created the events. What if it is a second player? So if it for the second player also we'll have to create the events. So on join the on a player join room, okay, so this will be player 1. So if it is a player 1, when the second player has joined the room, I'm sorry, one second. Okay, so when you join the room, the first player he joins the room, there will be only one actor, which is himself, and we'll have to associate the player with player 1 as, and we have to set the actor number to the first player number. Let's say it's 1. But when the second player has joined, it will not trigger on room trigger, on join room. So it will trigger to the second player. So we'll have to create one more event for first player if second player joins the room. Okay, so this event is for the second one. So when the second player joins the room, there will be two actors, one the first player and himself. The second one is himself. So for the first player, we are going to associate the actor at 1, and the second player, the ID will be himself. Okay, so for the first player, now we need to create one more event which is on actor join. So when the first player has joined, he will wait for the second player, and once the second player has joined, it will trigger on join actor join. Okay, so for the player 2, okay, we are going to associate the actor number. Okay, I hope it's clear so far. Okay, now we need to move only the player. If I'm the player 1, I have to move only my player, not the player 2. Okay, so what we have to do, so when arrow is down, he's moving the both the players. That should not happen. So instant variable actor is equal to photon dot my actor, move this one. Okay, so we have two events, right? One is for offline and one is for online. So if it is offline, set the boolean to offline. If it is offline, move this one with this condition. Okay, if it is online, it should check with the my actor. So it's the same with the second one. So here it should be minus 200. Okay, let's see if it works. Okay, so here red one is moving, this blue one is moving. Perfect. Okay, so there is a sync issue here. Not sync issue, the layers are not aligned properly. Let's fix that. Okay, so here so far so good, right? Everything is working fine. So what we have to do, we need to sync both the players in each other's screen, so that we are going to do it now. Alright, so let's fix the layers issue now. So this is in player, okay, this is in guy, tire, okay. So one is also in player. Okay, let's do one thing. So if photon dot my actor is equal to one, player with instant variable of actor photon dot my actor. So what I'm trying to do is, if the actor is on the screen, my actor, I want that to be on the top of the second actor, and whereas in the second screen I want the actor of player 2 be on top of the player 1. So layer, let's move it to top. Okay, I think we don't need this one. Let's see if it works. So I will remove this one to have more screen. This we will fix that, not an issue. Okay. Okay, let's use for each to fix this issue. Okay, for each, first one is guy, because they are in different layers, probably it's not working. So let's simply replace this object with guy. Let's do the same with car. Let's do the same. Oh, 1 second, for each guy, and we need to add one more condition. Instant variable actor is equal to photon dot my actor, so that we will only implement this on their actors, not the other one. Okay, let's do the same with tire 1. Now next it is tire 2. Okay, also let's fix this one. So this should be player 1, player 1, player 1, and player 1. Okay, you see that it's fixed now. Let's enter the screen. Oh god, my mistake. It doesn't work because everything is in different layers. Oh god, my mistake. I wasted some time. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's decrease the opacity of the layers or the player so that I can only see my player properly than the other player. So I'll keep, if it is a player 1, I'll keep the other player opacity as 50% only. Okay, and similarly with the other player. Okay, so here blue is much visible and pink is not visible. So but here both of them are in 50% opacity. Okay, so let's do one thing. And if the joined actor, we need to add one more condition, I guess. So photon dot okay, not this one. Okay, okay, 1 second, let me see if it works, then I will explain it to you what I have done. It didn't work. What happened to this one? Why it is taking both of them? Okay, my mistake. Should not be equal. Okay, so multiplayer games are little complex, even though it's a small game. So we'll have to keep changing the choices to make it work better. Okay, so this is working fine, this is also working fine. Okay, you see that? So here blue is having more opacity than the red, and red has the second screen, red has more opacity than blue. So what I have done, so I added opacity 50% to the respective events. Like for example, if the second player joins the room, he will assign the actor with the photon number to player 1, as well as set the opacity to 50%. Whereas the second player when the second player joins the room, so the player 1 here checks if the player has joined is not his player. Okay, so photon dot actor is nothing but the actor who joined the room, and his number is not equivalent to the player 1 number. Okay, which is not equal to photon dot my actor number, which is player 1 actor number, and set the player 2 opacity to 50%. Simple. Alright, so it worked. So now what we have to do, so till here it's going fine, and I hope you don't have any confusions. Maybe we can have one recap at the last. Now we need to sync both the players and see the movements. All right, so if I go to online event, so here what I want to do is in Photon I will trigger an event. Sorry, one second. Right, guy. So we cannot have the player movements with the whole set. We should have the player movements with the object wise. So guy has its own movement, car body has its own movement, and tires have their own movements, right? So we need to set based on each and every item. So if the guy actor number is equivalent to photon dot my actor number, so that it triggers only for the same actor, and Photon should create an event. For example, I'll add the event name as data code 1. So what we are trying to do is, so when I move blue car, I want the actor angle and position to be sent to player 2 so that he will update the position of the car in his screen. Similarly, when the player 2 sends the event with the position to player 1 so that he updates the position of player 2 on his screen. Okay, so what we are going to do here, so guy dot x, so instead of creating multiple triggers for xy position, angle and everything, we can simply we can send them using one complete string, and from the other side you can use token add to split all the screens, split the data, okay, based on the delimiter. Here the delimiter is underscore. Okay, this is good. Let's do the same with car. Let's do the same with tire 1, and let's do the same with tire 2. Okay, I hope it's clear. And we need to change the codes of events. Perfect. Now if you see this one, it is standing on the ground, which is good, but here we don't need it to it is standing on the ground because it has the physics enabled, but we don't want the physics enabled for the second player on the player 1 screen. You know why? Because we are going to update x and y values of this position of this player from player 2. So if player 2 is standing on the ground, it automatically stands on the ground in the first player as well. We don't need the physics, right? So if you have physics enabled, and because of network latency, if the player is moving, the player 2 is moving, and if they hit something and there is a delay in the player 2 on the player 1 screen, it acts completely different and it will not sync. Okay, so for that what we are going to do, so here let's disable the physics. Okay, let's do the same for the other player. Okay, now we have triggered the events. Now we need to cache those events on the other side. So if I go to Photon, get Photon token, I'm sorry, not token, event. Okay, so on event, okay, we also need to send the photon actor number. Alright, so we can catch them with something called token net. Int of token net of photon dot event data index is 0 and separator is underscore. So if it is equivalent to, so it should not be equivalent to my photon ID. Okay, so when actor guy, the guy from the second player sends the position of his guy to my screen, so I need to pick the, I'll show it to instead of saying. Okay, so for example, player 2 is sending the head position to player 1. Okay, and we'll need to see, so we have two instances here, right? Guy 1 and 2. We'll need to pick the guy which of player number equivalent to the second player. Okay, so for that we are using token net. What will token net do is, here we are sending the whole data into single string with underscores. So token net will split them based on underscores and pick the first value, and first value will be 2 if it is the second player sending the data, and the player 1 update the second player's head position and update in his screen. Okay, so set position, 1 second, let's simply copy this one and this should be 2, right? And also similarly we'll have to do with the angle. Okay, let's see if it works. Hopefully it works. Why it is not moving? Photon dot event data 0 starts with 0. Let's start with 1. Okay, not actor 1, it should be guy dot Okay. Okay, you can see the blue guy's head is moving, but not the car. Okay, we'll fix this one, but at least the position of the guy is moving. Okay, the physics is disabling physics did not work properly. Okay, receivers others, not all. Okay. Okay, let's see it again. So generally when I get any online multiplayer games, people think that it's a simple connection and it's a simple game, why can't you do it quickly? Now the problem is not about the game, it's about the connection. We'll have to take a lot of time figuring it, setting up the sync and everything. So that is the challenging thing with the multiplayer games. So writing code might not take much time, but the debugging and implementation, it will take some time. 1 2 3 4, so we have 4 items here, and the physics, disabling the physics is not working properly. And for some reason player 2 is not moving. Okay, I think should be equal to. Still not working. Okay, so it is dragging the red car. Let's do one thing, let's add one more condition. Guy dot actor is not equivalent to photon dot my actor. And guy dot instant variable is equal to put on this one. Okay, let's see if it works. Then we can simply replicate the same for the other actors. Okay, let's log in. Same thing. Okay, so blue is moving and you can see the head is moving along with that, and there is a lag maybe because of my network. Also for physics play objects, there will be a lag. It was a statement given by Photon Engine, and they have some method how to eliminate that or maybe reduce that. Okay, so red one is not moving, so let's do one thing. Let's replace the objects now, and this should be event 2. This should be tire 1. This should be tire 2, and we have total 4 events, so this should be event 3. This should be event 4, right? And I'm thinking because of adding these things, it has disabled the movement of second player, but let's see. It still doesn't work. Okay, event 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's see if all the cars has got all the objects has got all the numbers properly allocated. So if I touch guy, it should give me, one second, let me add a browser. We can do with script as well, but let's use browser. Log, okay, guy dot actor guy dot player. So we will know if we have the numbers properly allocated, otherwise we can fix that. So generally it happens because of improper allocation of numbers. Okay, let's refresh. So we are almost done. The syncing issue is the only thing which is a major issue. So if I click, okay, so I can see numbers are allocated properly. Even for this one, okay, there is an issue. Okay. So the number allocation, okay, I think this should be 0. Okay, this is 1 1, this is 0 2. That's the issue. So the actor number is not allocated. Okay, so that is why it is not working. Okay, Good, we are able to identify the issue. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's split this one. Okay, let's see now. It's very easy to explain an existing game. Like, I build a game beforehand and explain all the program rather than creating a new game in front of you. Still it doesn't work. Here it is allocated properly, so the issue is only with the second player. Still doesn't work. What mistake I have done? It was working fine before. Okay. Okay, so let's change it to string. I think it should be string. So string of tire 1 dot actor tire 1 dot angle, right? So string of tire 2 okay, done. So here instead of position int, let's say a float. and let's disable the physics. Okay, right, cool. Now we can see it's working, right? Okay, fine, finally. Okay, so oh, it's following. Okay, now we need to fix the scroll behavior. So what happening in both the screens, one of the first player who is moving on both of the screens is leading the camera, so that should not happen. So if it is the player 1, so if it is player 1, okay, and the actor number is equal to the actual actor number, set car scroll to, sorry, okay. So if it is player 2 and actor number is not the same, which means, so player 1, I'm sorry, if it is player 1 and if the actor number is equivalent to their player, oh sorry for confusing. So what my objective is, so on player 1, this guy has to move with the scrolling should be fixed to the player, the blue guy. So this guy's number is 1, and the car photon is not equivalent to this guy's number, which is 1. To put it simple, the red car scroll to will be disabled in player 1, and the blue car player will be number will be disabled in player 2. Okay, let's see how it works. Okay, now it is not moving. So if it is player 1 and the player number should not be equal to car number, so it should be disabled. Okay, let's again restart the server. Okay, so in this screen it should go with blue, and in this screen it should go with pink. Now nothing is happening. Okay, let's do it in a different way. So if it is player 1, my player is equal to 1, which is the first player screen. Okay, and the car number is not equal to 1, then disable the scroll. Similarly, let's do the same the second one. Okay, Now I made a very big mistake. So I set the my player to 1. Okay, so by default my player is being set to 1 to both the players. So this is the issue. I forgot to remove that. I'm so sorry. So I'll waste a lot of time. Okay, so this one will be my player as 1. So this one will be my player as 2. Okay, let's see how it goes now. This should work. Okay, fine. For the second player it is working fine. So for the first player, right, so it is sticking to whichever player it is. The screen is setting to their player only. Okay, cool, everything is working fine. So we need to set up the last bit, which is to declare win or lose when they reach the last screen. Okay, with that we can close this video. Okay, so for that we can simply trigger one more event. So what we can do, I will say if P1 is reached, and if P2 is reached. Okay, so we are going to implement the same thing here on collision with flag. Okay, if guy collides with the flag and guy's variable player is equal to my player. Okay, so instead of simply setting the text to win, what we will do is we will see if the opponent's text okay, so this is for the first player. What we are trying to do is, so for the first player, when he reaches the final screen, so the second player should not be already in that position. If yes, that it should declare as lose, or if no, it should declare as win, right? So for player 1, okay, and if this guy, and if the player is 1, what we have to do, we have to check if the other condition player 2 is reached yes or no. So if they do not reach, okay, so declare it as win, and in Photon send a simple event code 5. So we used till code 4, right? So let's use 5 and say that data will be 1, which means the player 1 has 1, and if the player 2 has already reached, you will see it as you lose. So wait for 3 seconds and let's disconnect. So once the player has disconnected, so go to layout, home. Okay, also if the player has left the screen in the middle, left the game, you can also disconnect from all servers and go to the home screen. Alright, so we have to do the same with player 2. Okay, so let's add a new event 5, and the event is the boolean of, I'm sorry, not this one. So we need to check the Photon event code is 1. Okay, so if the code is 1, which means that player 1 has already reached the destination, so we'll have to update it as player 1 reached. So if it is Photon 2, okay, so what happens is once the player 1 reaches the end, he will check if the player 2 has already reached. If not, it will declare it as 1 and trigger the game event 5 to player 2 saying player 1 has already reached, so update your variable as player 1 has reached. And in player 2, when they reach the final screen, it will show it as player 1 has already reached, and it will declare it as loose, disconnect all servers and go to the home screen. Similarly with player 1. Okay, let's see how it works. Okay, let's play carefully so that we don't fall anywhere and go back to the home screen. So let's take the player 2 to the finish line and see if it works. Okay, so it says you win because the second player 1 has not reached the final state. Okay, so it says you lose for player 1. Perfect, right? So it has worked fine. Alright, so that's all about this video. We created offline mode and online mode. So just to give a recap, so first we have created offline mode, we created all the joints first, so that we'll have that spring kind of effect, and if the guy collides with the ground, all the physics joints will be removed and go back to the home screen. When it is a online one, we have integrated Photon, and the user has the option to choose whether it's offline or online. They'll have to provide their nickname to join the game, and once they provide the nickname, so we'll connect them to a name server called hill climb multiplayer, and we have set the room condition to 2 players max, and once the player has joined the lobby, Photon will try to connect them into any random room which has only 1 player, and if there is no room vacant, so it will create a new room with the user ID of the with the Photon ID. The user ID creates a new room and tries to connect the other player who is waiting to join a room. Okay, so once we join the room, we are going to associate both the players which are on the screen to actor numbers, and once that is done, we are going to move the actors to respective layers to top of the screen and also decrease their opacity. when we try to move the players, so we create some events, event 1 2 3. It updates the position and angle of each actor, and the other party will get those details from the events when an event triggers. So they will update those values of the other player on the screen. And we also disable the scroll to effect, so the other player who is on the screen, we don't want the camera to be fixing to the player, so that you will only see your player's movement, not the other ones. And also once the player reaches the final screen, so we will update the variables p1 reached and p2 reached into the respective screens by triggering a new event called event 5. And we, once player 1 reaches the finish line before player 2, so we update p1 as done in both the screens by raising the event 5. And once the player 2 reaches the finish line, he will check whether player 1 has already reached or not with this variable, and if they already reached, it will declare it as lose. If the player 1 did not reach, it will declare as win. Alright, so let's you can also connect the PlayFab or MySQL or Firebase or any other authentication to this game, and you can set up leaderboards, etc., so that once we have the authentication, so the respective users will only be logging into the screen, right? So we can have it as another video. If you want me to do it, I will do it. If not, that's okay. And like I said, I also work as a freelancer. If you have any work for me, you can reach out to me. You can send an email which I provided in the description, or you can also reach out to me on Discord server, which I already provided in the description as well. Alright, so that's all about this video. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, you take care. Bye bye. Thank you.